everyone, my name is Kenny Sumanya and we will be discuss about organizational structure in Unit 3 with my co-reporters this day. So, let's start. In this chapter, we'll be able to learn about what are the mechanisms versus organizational structure, what are the fundamental dimensions of change, and how do managers deal with change. So, let's start. Organizational structure. First, an organizational structure is a system for accomplishing and connecting the activities that occur within a work organization. People rely on structures to know what they should do, how their work support or to rely on other employees, and how these work activities fulfill the purpose of the organization itself. So, in this structure or this system, the organizational structure determines on the individual or groups on what they should do to their works to support the activities so that the purpose of organization will be accomplished. So, next is organizational design. Organizational design is the process on setting up the organizational structure to address the needs of the organization and account for the complexity involved business objectives. It refers to the constant shift that occurs within an organizational system. For example, as people enter and leave the organization, market conditions shift, supply sources change, or adaptations are introduced in the process of accomplishing work. So the organizational design, it helps the organizational structure on setting up what they need on their organization and what they on business objectives to accomplish their works. So let's continue.
Finally, organizational development is the label for a field that specializes in change management. Organizational development specialists draw on social science to guide change processes that simultaneously help a business achieve its objectives while generating well-being for employees as sustainable benefits for society. An understanding of organizational development practices is essential for leaders who want to maximize the potential of their organizations over a long period of time. Together, an understanding of these concepts can help managers know how to create and direct organizations that are positioned to successfully accomplish strategic goals and objectives. Okay, organizational development. From the word development, it is the study or a process or progress that it has a positive effect or improvement sa iyang mga objectives or gusto. For example, sa isa ka business, sa business mag-invest magid ta. So if mag-invest ta, mag-need tag money. So, ang kaning money makaingon ta nga na-develop ang atong isa ka negosyo sa atong gi-invest nga business kung kini maasinso. That was called development. Kay when we say development, kanang positive effect gid siya dili sa negative. Kay development, that is organizational development.
The formal organization. The formal organization is an officially defined set of relationships, responsibilities, and connections that exist across an organization. The traditional organizational chart, as illustrated in Exhibit 10.2, is perhaps the most common way of depicting the formal organization. The typical organization has a hierarchical form with clearly defined roles and responsibilities. So, the examples of formal organization is healthcare institution, schools, business organizations, and churches are some of the common examples of formal organizations. Also, formal organizations share basic characteristics. Not all these formal organizations are similar. Generally, this can be categorized into coercive, normative, and utilitarian. And also, the example of typical organization is find using only one organizing principle limits their effectiveness. They differ from archetypes to create a mixed structure geared to their main area of activity.
Informal organization. The informal organization is sometimes to us the invisible network of interpersonal relationships that shape how people actually connect with one another to carry out their activities. The common conversation and another in their day-to-day relationship, it is usually complex, impossible to control, and has the potential to significantly influence an organization's success. The informal organization is a group of people who share a common identity and are committed to achieving a common purpose, are created by the well and shared identity on their members. The importance of informal organization is basically to maintain cultural values of people. The example of organization, street vendors, a group of coworkers, a reading club neighborhood, loving couple in the courtship stage. Organization may be defined as network of personal and social relationships that arise spontaneously as people associate with one another in work environment. It is composed of all the informal groupings of people within a formal organization. As depicted in Figure 4, the informal organization also be mapped, but it is usually very different than the formal organization. The chart you see in this sample is called a network map because it depicts the relationship that exists between different members of a system. Some members are more central than others, and the strength of a relationship may vary between in two pairs of group of individuals. Informal organization it can also a map, but the formal organization is not the same. But there is something called a network map from the informal organization because can include conversation with people where you may meet in all kinds of circumstances. For example, you may meet someone new while out in your daily life and realize they have a connection to a company that you are interested in. That's why informal organization is formed within the formal organization as a network of interpersonal relationship when people interact with each other.
Types of formal organizational structures. Bureaucracy. One of the most common frameworks for thinking about this issue is called bureaucratic model. It was developed by Max Weber, a 19th century sociologist. Weber's central assumption was that organizations will find efficiencies when they divided the duties of labor, allow people to specialize, and create a structure for coordinating their differentiated efforts, usually within a hierarchy of responsibility. Bureaucracy or bureaucratic management. Siya ang German sociologist nga nagpropose sa novel idea nga bureaucracy. Bureaucracy for Weber ay ang pagsasanay ng kontrol sa batayan ng kaalaman. He proposed 5 elements of bureaucracy that serve as a foundation for determining an appropriate structure: specialization, command and control, span of control, centralization, and formalization.
Specialization, the degree to which people are organized into subunits according to their expertise is referred to as specialization. For example, human resources, finance, marketing, or manufacturing. It may also include specialization within those functions. For instance, people who work in the manufacturing facilities may be well reversed in every part of the manufacturing process, or they may be organized into specialty units that focus on the different part of the manufacturing process, such as procurement, material, preparation, assembly, quality control, and
Good day, everyone. I am Mary Joy P. Salmon, your reporter number 6. Command and control. The next element to consider is the reporting and oversight structure of the organization. Command and control refers to the way in which people report to one another or connect to coordinate their effort in accomplishing the work of the organization. What is command and control? The organization reporting and oversight structure is the next factor to take into account. The term command and control describes the way in which individuals connect with one another or report to one another in order to coordinate their effort in completing the organization task. Span of control. Another question addresses the scope of the work that any one person in the organization will be accountable for, referred to as a span of control. For instance, top level leaders are usually responsible for all the work of their subordinates. Mid-level leaders are responsible for a narrower set of responsibilities. And ground level employees usually perform very specific tasks. Each manager in hierarchy works within the span of control of another manager at a level of organization. Is span of control. Span of control, often known as the amount of the work that any one employee in the organization will be responsible for, is another issue. For instance, top level managers are often in charge of all of their staff members' work. Mid-level managers are in charge of a more contained range of duty, and ground level staff members typically carry out relatively specialized duties. Every manager in hierarchy higher up in the organization. Realization. The next element to consider is how to manage the flows of resources and information in an organization or its centralization. A highly centralized organization concentrates resources in only one or very few locations, or only a few individuals are authorized to make decisions about the use of resources. In contrast, a diffuse organization contributes resources more broadly throughout an organization system, along with the authority to make decisions about how to use those resources. What is centralization? The next factor to take into account is how to centralize an organization resources and information flows. A highly centralized organization focuses resources in just one or a small number of locations, or just a small number of people are allowed to decide how to use resources. A diffuse organization, on the other hand, resources and the power of decide how to employ them more widely throughout an organization system.
Formalization. The last element of bureaucracy, formalization, refers to the degree of definition in the rules that exist throughout an organization. A highly formalized system, example, the military has a very defined organization, a tightly structured system in which all of the jobs, responsibilities, and accountability structures are very clearly understood. In contrast, a loosely structured system, example, volunteer nonprofit, relies heavily relies heavily on the emergent relationship of informal organization. Formalization leads to system stability, simplifies coordination and control. Employees know exactly what to do and how to do it. From a management perspective, it is certainly easier to manage a high formalized system than an organization without any official rules. There are six elements of bureaucracy: rationality, hierarchy, expertise, rules-based decision-making, formalization, and specialization. Mechanistic and organic structures. On one end of the continuum is mechanistic bureaucracy structure. This is a strongly hierarchical form of organizing that is designed to generate a high degree of standardization and control. Mechanistic organizations are often characterized by a highly vertical organizational structure or atoll structure. Due to the presence of many levels of management, a mechanistic structure tends to dictate rules and procedure through strong routines and standard operating practices. A mechanistic organization is an organizational structure with centralized authority, divisions between departments, and specialized rules that work independently of each other. Companies that have mechanistic structures run similarly to bureaucracies in which an established chain of command manage business operation. General Motor is a good example of an organizational using the mechanistic model. Why do they use that? For one, there are very large, and when the people and functions are involved, order is needed. Also, mechanistic structure are rigid and bureaucratic and help companies achieve efficiency, while organic structures are are, cent- are decentralized, flexible, and aid companies in achieving innovativeness.
In contrast, an organic bureaucratic structure relies on the ability of people to self-organize and make decisions without much direction such that they can adapt quickly to changing circumstances. An organization with a horizontal structure is also known as a flat organization because it often features only a few levels of organizational hierarchy. An organic organizational structure refers to a flexible workplace with a horizontal mode of communication. Horizontal or flat methods of communication mean that employees share the responsibility in groups and teams and interact with different departments, manager, and colleague to complete the work successfully. The principle of bureaucracy outlined earlier can be applied in different ways depending on the context of the organization and the manager. Objectives to create structure that have future of either mechanistic or organic structure. Business choose organizational structure based on how they want to manage their operation. Many companies that have formal work environment and strong employee oversight may prefer a mechanistic organizational approach, which allows them to manage the business in a hierarchical manner. A mechanistic organization may emphasize as a strong degree of specialization so that essential procedure or practices are carried out with consistency and predictable precision. For example, the degree of specialization required in an organization depends both on the complexity of the activity the organization needs to account for and on the scale of the organization. A more organic organization may encourage employees to be both specialist and generalist so that they are more aware of opportunity for innovation within a system.
Good day, everyone. I am Sarafe Pelan. Organizational structure. The span of control assigned to any specific manager is commonly used to encourage either mechanistic or organic bureaucracy. Any manager's to ability to attend to responsibilities has limits and the amount of work anyone can accomplish is finite. A manager is an organic structure usually has a broad span of control, forcing her to rely more on subordinates to make decisions. A manager in a mechanistic structure usually has a narrow span of control so that she can provide more oversight, thus increasing span of control for a manager tends to flatten the hierarchy while narrowing span of control tends to reinforce the hierarchy. Span of control, for instance, top-level leaders are responsible for a narrower set of responsibilities and ground-level employees usually perform very specific tasks. Each manager in a hierarchy works within the span of control of another manager at the level of organization. Why the span of control important? Because it affects the company. For example, It impacts flexibility and communication with the organization. With the span of control is wider, communication flows more quickly between levels, enabling fa- faster decision making. In addition, organizations have fewer lawyers, so messages take less time to get from the lowest level to the top level or vice versa.
Centralization address assumption about how an organization can be achieve efficiencies in its operations in a mechanistic structure. It is assumed that efficiencies will occur in the system if the resources and decisions flow through in a centralized way. In an organic system, it is assumed that greater efficiencies will be seen by distributing those resources and having the resources sorted by the users of the resources. Either perspective may work depending on the circumstances. Ang sentralisasyon ay tumutugon sa mga pagpapalagay tungkol sa kung paano na makamit ang isang organisasyon ang mga kahusayan sa mga operasyon nito. Sa isang mekanikal na istruktura, makikita sa pamamagitan at ipinamamahagi ang mga pagkukunang iyon at ang pagkakaroon ng mga pagkukunan ng pagkasunod-sunod ng mga maaaring gumana ang alinman sa pananaw depende sa mga pangyayari.
Good day, everyone. My name is Rika May L. Supitran, and I am the reporter of Functional Structure, page 20. Aside from the considerations outlined above, organizations will often set structures according to the functional needs of the organization. A functional need refers to a feature of the organization or its environment that is necessary for organizational success. A functional structure is designed to address these organizational needs. So, a functional structure is a business structure that is based on the function of each position within the business and the knowledge and skills of the team members that perform each role. For example, lawyers work in a legal department and marketers work in the marketing department. So, a functional structure is a group of individuals that is focused of what are the rules of them according to their profession.
Product structures. Product structures exist where the business organizes its employees according to product lines or lines of the business. So the business organizes its employees in a separate division, and each division they focusing a different product or service within the company. So the example here is about the car company. So if you are employees of that firm, you must know what you are working on. At also the car company, they are properly arranged the employees according to the model of the vehicle, so that the employees will not mistake to produce a vehicle. So the other example here is if a company is not only produce a one product. For example, they produce a bakery and a clothing. So each of those products they will be on division, and it will be have its own sales department, marketing department, and other functional group.
Geographic structure exists where the organization are set up to deliver a range of product within a geographic area or region. Here, the business is set up based on a territory or region. Manager of a particular unit oversee all the operation of the business for that geographical area. Ang geographic structure mag-exist ni siya sa organization nga nag-set up og deliver sulod didto sa geographic area o region. Unya, pag ma-set up na pud to, ang manager na pod ang magtan-aw or mag-manage sa business kung okay ra ba ang pagka-set up nila didto. Example, ang among organization nag-set up og deliver didto sa San Francisco. Tapos pagkahuman nag-set up na pod og deliver didto sa patinay. Nya pagkahuman na pod sa baba, nag-deliver na pod mi sa baba. So ang among manager kay human naman og set up tanan na deliver na, ang among manager mauto siya mag-check sa among gipang deliver kung okay ra ba, maayo bang pagka-manage didto So mao na to, kintahin na hurot na namo og deliver diri sa Agusan. So mao na ang among geographic area, maora na among geographical area, dili na mi mulapas dito sa uban pang area. Unya, dili pud na siya mamili pud na siya lugar. Kintahay didto nga lugar nangita to siya ato nga product unya walay nagbaligya ato dito na product, so mao to among deliveran. Kay magtan-aw man pud na siya kung unsa ang gipangita sa tao or unsa ang gikinahanglan didto nga lugar. Example, ako ang manager diri sa Agusan. So ang akong geographic structure diri ra jud sa Agusan, diri ra nga na region, diri ra nga area. So ang akong buhaton, igo na lang ko mag-check sa mga branches kung maayo ba ang pagka-set up didto kay ang akong geographic lagi structure diri ra sa Agusan, bawal na ko manglapas dito sa uban region. In either functional structure, the manager will oversee all the activities that correspond to that function: marketing, manufacturing, delivery, client support system, and so forth. In some ways, a functional structure is like a smaller version of a larger organization, a smaller version of a bureaucracy that exists within the largest organization. What is functional structure? A functional structure is a type of business structure that organizes a company into a different department based on expertise. These departments serve as functional and overseen by a functional manager or department head. Example: Information Technology Department, Finance Department, Marketing Department, and Producting Department. A functional organization structure is one of the most popular organization structure that is used to run business effectively and to earn great revenues for the company. It's suitable for small business as well in types that offer one of the business or product. Service or product. Example, medical clinic or car repairing shop. Parehas sa akong giingon ganina sa geographic structure nga ako ang manager diri sa tibuok Agusan. So, diingon ra ba ko nga kada branch ato, mao to akong gina-check. So, ang sulod ato nga branch, naadjud to siya finance department, marketing department, og production department. So, kada branch ato, naadjud to functional structure. So, example, kani nga branch, nag-hire ni siya. So, ang ni apply IT. So, dito jud to siya sa information department. So, na po ni-apply accountant, dito na po to siya sa finance department. Kaya dito man siya mag-function. Pareha sa akong giingon ganina, a functional structure is a type of business structure that organize a company into a different department based on their expertise. So, dito raman sila expert. So, dito ra po sila mag-function.
In either functional structure, the manager will oversee all the activities that correspond to that function: marketing, manufacturing, delivery, client, support system, and so forth. In some ways, a functional structure is like a smaller version of the larger organization, a smaller version of the bureaucracy that exists within the larger organization. A functional structure, this type of business structure organizes a company into different departments based on areas. For example, lawyer work in the legal department and marketers work in the marketing department. Bureaucracy, a system of government in which most of the important decisions are made by state official rather than by elected representatives. Example of bureaucracy can be found everywhere. State departments of motor vehicles, health maintenance organization, financial lending organizations like savings and loan, and insurance companies are all bureaucracy that many people deal with regularly.